this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity. Oh yeah, I ask myself, is our hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? Oh,
and each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Well, what's so funny about peace?
Oh, ha. Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. I'm not muted today. I'm trying to do my Christmas intros, and I might return to doing the intros as I usually do, but it's not very smooth, so I'm working on it. Apologies about all of that. Snap election in BC. Maybe because there's a whole bunch of speculation swirling around and people are renting rooms and things like that. So that's interesting to pay attention to. Churches and pro sports. Every pro sport, according to this guy, got bribed to do COVID stuff, to do vaccine pushing and things like that. And I find that very interesting. Is Trump starting a war in Venezuela? I've heard that. I've heard that Trump is starting a war in Venezuela, and I don't think that's true. There's a breakdown that I thought was interesting enough to share with you, and the breakdown is talking a lot about how it's cutting off Venezuela's economic options, and that reminds me a lot of Canada. So I thought I'd share that with you because I feel like we are going to enter the find out part of the effing around. And so unfortunately, that's not going to be very good for our economy, but life is like that sometimes, I guess. And so yikes. And where are we starting today? Not Venezuela, but more domestically, Europe, obviously, right? Europe and Canada and Europe right next door to each other, just a small little tiny ocean schmocean, says Mark Carney. Elbows up, and you can get across that ocean in, well, just a couple of dollars or whatever. And don't worry, the government will tax all of that. So yes, we have to talk about digital IDs and Canada cozying up to Europe while poking the United States, our biggest trading partner, in the eye. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, Bernie says the EU and Canada have just signed a deal to mutually recognize digital IDs, and nobody voted for it. Buried in a technical memorandum, the government agreed to align their digital identity system, run joint pilots, and eventually treat each other's digital ID wallets as interchangeable. They're gonna bribe Canada with EU membership and free movement. And then do you know what's gonna happen? You thought the invasion was bad before. Well, we ain't seen nothing yet. Once digital IDs are interoperable across borders, they become the foundation of a global identity. And the UN has been pushing under Agenda 2030's legal identity for all goal with no democratic consent. And risks are obvious. One, digital wallet becomes the key to banking, travel, services, and employment. Refusing it becomes impossible once everything depends on it. Cross-border systems mean your data or your identity score can travel further than you do, right? So, we've heard of you, Mark, right? No, you're not allowed to come here because you might do your little show and criticize us. Once the infrastructure exists, governments can add whatever checks or restrictions they like. This is global digital governance by stealth, so of course they won't ask you. EU and Canada agree to collaborate on digital ID mutual recognition pilots, and this is December 9th. This is published. So, warning, red flag, everyone. Yikes. This is not good, right? Very bad. Kyle Kemper. You know Kyle Kemper, he's related to Justin Trudeau. I've used his stuff before. He's brothers with Justin Trudeau, right? Half brothers. And there's other things about him as well. He's connected to a bunch of probably NGOs. There's a whole bunch with Kyle Kemper. Anyway, here's what Kyle Kemper says about the digital ID, and he provides a handy link to the actual app itself, which is on Google Play. I don't think you can download it, but I've got the install button, which I am not going to press. Thank you very much. I'll just look at these very concerning pictures like, oh, add your airline transport pilot license here. So if you're a global citizen and you get your airline transport pilot's license somewhere else, and then you come to Canada, well, there you go. You've got your global license, right? Scary stuff. Anyway, Kyle says the government of Canada has silently deployed a digital wallet on the Google Play Store for digital ID. They have also canceled an industry RPF process. I'm digging into this and will offer detailed comments soon. Securely store and present your official digital credentials. The GC wallet is a secure and convenient way to store and access your digital ID, blah, 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 blah. Scan, verify, and share with confidence. This is all the write-up on the app, so I'm not going to go through all of that. He's just sharing what it says. Or it used to say. It doesn't say that anymore. Or maybe it does. I don't know. It looked, oh yeah, here it is. Here's the app write-up. Here you go. So that's what he's copying and pasting from. So scary stuff, if you ask me. We're aligning with the EU, and we don't even know how far we've slid down this slippery slope. CBC Watcher says the government of Canada's quiet release of GC Wallet, a digital credentials app on the Google Play Store, has raised questions about whether the Carney Liberals are preparing to mandate digital IDs. The app, developed by Employment and Social Development Canada, promises a secure and convenient way to store and access your official digital credentials, such as temporary visas or digital personnel licenses, with encrypted offline QR code sharing. They have also canceled an industry RFP process, said Justin Trudeau's brother, Kyle Kemper. So I don't know what canceling that process indicates, but it is a situation where it's all bad, I think, and there are no bright spots. My gosh. Mark Nixon says Canada signs deal with the EU to make digital IDs interoperable across borders. It's called a Memorandum of Understanding on Digital Credentials, Digital Identity Wallets, and Trust Services. Translation, they're building the infrastructure for global ID compliance. The new Canada-EU Digital Pact follows the June 2025 commitment to align digital frameworks and establish interoperable digital identities. The Digital ID and Authentication Council of Canada fully endorsing it, calling it a mutual recognition opportunity. Canada and the EU will now jointly test and pilot digital identity wallets using a new expert form to ensure both systems work together seamlessly. They'll also share data, best practices, and explore mutual recognition standards. That means your Canadian digital ID will soon function under EU frameworks and vice versa. This is being co-chaired by Evan Solomon, Canada's new Minister of AI and Digital Innovation. So while Canadians struggle with housing, jobs, and inflation, Ottawa is laser focused on biometric integration and cross-border surveillance tech. They're not hiding it anymore. They never were. People just don't refuse to believe it. Ryan says it's been 2 days since this digital ID partnership between Canada and the EU was announced. Our media hasn't mentioned a word of it. Guaranteed another ask by our Liberal government to keep it quiet for a while. You know who else hasn't said anything about it? Pierre Poilievre. He hasn't said anything about it. He's completely ignored it. It's one of those things where, not that I'm shocked, but holy cow, nobody is upset about this. Nobody's concerned that there's no mention by the official opposition that there are these partnerships happening with all of these European Union and so on and so forth, and nothing. Wild, absolutely incredible. And so silence everywhere except for here, and they want to be able to shut me down. So yikes. Disclosed TV says NATO Chief Rutte says European allies increased in defense spending to 5% is to reach our capability targets to make sure that we can fight the Russians if they would attack us. And of course, we also have the huge buildup in China. So you see Europe is stepping up. And pretty crazy. Do you want to tie yourselves closer to Europe while Europe is trying to poke the bear, right? Like the Russian bear? So, Europe's in trouble, Canada. You guys should probably come and help us out, eh? Well, I mean, we don't have sleeping bags. So we don't have gas to power any of our stuff. So do you have gas that we can? And then we'll come, maybe, but maybe not too. I wouldn't go, right? Put me in jail because nope. Sorry, thanks, but no. European Parliament says all the money that the EU invests must be correctly accounted for. Parliament and a majority of European citizens agree the European Parliament should have all the necessary information and means to properly control EU spending. These are unelected bureaucrats, as far as I understand it. So they shouldn't have any control of the spending over the EU. And in fact, I think this whole EU apparatus, the more they talk, do you remember the 2012 Olympics thing in England where the big crazy demon thing was hanging out over the nurses? The more the EU talks, the more that crazy big demon thing comes into view. They are behaving bonkers. They're behaving in a way that is intolerable, and they're pretending that Everybody wants us to do this. It's like, well, nope, I don't think so. So they want to control all the money in the EU. So not so good. Elon Musk says the EU Commission should be disbanded in favor of an elected body, and the EU president should be directly elected. The current system is ruled by bureaucracy, not democracy. Levosio says, so good to see the world wake up to the terrors of the European Commission. I hope all the attention helps Europe, the European people, via their country's government, force the European Union to reform and redesign its structure to one that's actually democratic. No independent appointments of corrupt cronies, but actual democracy close to the people. It also makes no sense to have 720 members of the European Parliament. It's simply too much and it makes it too inefficient. The real cancer rotting the EU from within is through the European Commission, which should be disbanded and replaced with a democratic body. How about just disbanded? I don't think you need a democratic body. Govern your own countries and have trade, bilateral trade, whatever which way you want it. But this is not working. Communism doesn't work. FYI, the European Commission consists of 32,000 paid civil servants, and all it does is create laws that nobody agrees with. Cut it out. You ever been cleaning out like a garage or like moving or something like that? And you start to think, I'm never going to open this box. I'm putting stuff in this box and I don't care about any of this stuff and I'm never going to open this box, and I'm just cut it. It's going in the dumpster. It's going in the garage sale. Done. We should do that with all this crap, all this overhead, all this crap. Europeans, you should keep posting about the terrors of the European Commission and vote parties into power in your country that can put real pressure on the EU to change and reform. Fingers crossed, but not holding my breath. The Irish Libertarian is responding to Ursula von der Leyen, and she says the political agreement reached on the 2040 climate target is great news on December 9th, 1 month after COP30 Europe matches words with deeds with a legally binding target of 90% emission reduction by 2040. Radical ideologues, bureaucrats, right? Just unbelievably out of touch people who don't have to worry about elections. All they have to do is make sure their job is secure for the next quarter, right? Got to get funding, got to make sure 90% emission cuts. And if not, well, we need more bureaucrats, a bureaucratic army to enforce the emission cuts. Irish Libertarian says, and a pragmatic and flexible plan to make this transition to 90% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions our competitive advantage. Deindustrializing and making energy less efficient and more expensive is the opposite of giving yourself a competitive advantage, which is what we're doing in Canada with carbon taxes. We're being ran into the ground by morons. They're not morons. They are radical ideologues who ascribe to a deindustrialization religion, who want to depopulate the world. And depopulating the world happens by famine and by removing electricity, freezing people, right? Events where you say, oh, that's a shame, but really you could have done something to prevent it, but you don't. People freeze to death, things like that, right? Oh, well, if the grid was better, right? Like, oh, darn, if we had more wind turbines. Like, no, they're not morons. They're very intelligent people who have taken over our elections, and they're ideologues and radicals, and we should remove them. Anyway, they don't represent us in the slightest. I agree with that. The EU needs to be abolished as it is, or we need out. Yes, everybody and their dog is calling for getting out of the EU, including me. We should get out of the EU as soon as possible. We're not in the EU? The heck you say? Talk to Carney. Dodge says EU fined X over its blue check system, even though card payments already tie verification to real identity. Meanwhile, they did not find Meta, even though it also offers paid blue checks. Why penalize X but not Meta? Because they're a bunch of ideologues. Here is Viktor Orban, and he says it's about time for change of direction in the faltering Brusselerian command center, EU. There's no shame in following those who have done things correctly, right? He says, be more like Hungary, secure, competitive, migrant-free. I'm not even kidding. Good job, Viktor Orban. So there you go. He's pushing, migrant-free. We disagree with Ursula von der Leyen, and we're not afraid to make sure people know it. So there you go. And great. We've got grab bag of governance, and we've got grab bag of governance here, and I want to do speech. Speech was first, but I feel like the digital ID is kind of tradey, and I feel like we'll do speech in a minute. Here's money stuff, and Ryan Garrettson's responding to Juno News. Carney caught meeting Brookfield executives despite ethics warning. Ethics is a $500 fine. It's that serious. The most serious thing they can do is give you a $500 fine. A $500 fine when you're making millions in kickbacks? Are you going to pay that? All day long, buddy. All day long. Oh, no. Do I get the ceremonial slap on the wrist, too? Here you go. Right? Oh, I did wrong. So yeah, my multiple buildings really care. And so these people who are being held accountable by a $500 fine in an ethics situation, bullshit. So they make these headlines so people think it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. If you're getting millions of dollars in kickbacks, $500 fine means nothing. It means nothing. You don't even lose your position. Nothing. Carney caught meeting Brookfield execs despite ethics warnings. Oh, you better not. Oh, I might though, but you better not. Oh, I might. We're going to fine you. $500? Okay, fine me. Great. Fine me all day, every day. And it'd still be worth it for me to meet with these people. Prime Minister Mark Carney's financial fate is directly tied to the success of Brookfield Asset Management, according to testimony from Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finkelstein. We know that Mr. Carney was lobbied by North River Midstream and said Conservative MP Michael Cooper. On May 6th, a week later, he met with Sam Pollock, the CEO of Brookfield Infrastructure in Washington, D.C., Brookfield Infrastructure is also subject to ethics screen, yet it has recently come to light that in October, Mr. Carney met with the chief operating officer of Brookfield, Justin Bieber, but not like Justin Bieber, the singer. Justin, I bet he goes through hell with this name. not that Justin. Yeah, it's Justin Bieber. Mm-hmm. Was it Michael Bolton? He has to change his name in the Prime Minister's office. And guess what happened? Absolutely nothing, right? The ceremonial slap on the wrist. Nothing happened because it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a show to distract us. That's why. Holly Doan says cabinet decision to cut tolls on PEI Confederation Bridge guarantees French investors more than $40 million a year taxpayers subsidies, says PBO department. Which one? Oh, okay. The Mark Carney announced concessions last July without disclosing the cost. So I remember when this happened and people were celebrating, and it looks like investors or other people associated to cronies, maybe not necessarily Mark Carney, but cronies anyway, French investors, whoever they are making money on this. So great. Good for those French investors. Megatron says breaking, Trump administration is discussing the idea of creating an alternative to the G7 without Europe. Uh-oh. So about us being Europe, we should probably get out of the EU as fast as possible. Can exit. Yay. We'll start the movement early. Okay. We're a couple of years early, but I promise you it's going to happen. The proposed core five would unite five heavyweights: United States, China, Russia, India, and Japan. Can you imagine if Trump's at the head of the C5 and that replaces the G7 and basically gets the United States into BRICS? We'd like to be in BRICS too, and Japan. Canada is screwed, just like Europe. Darn it. Darn, right? We also didn't want to buy those Australian subs anyway. Good job, everyone. We'll buy these diesel subs. Thanks. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Bruce McGonigal says Liberal MP Patty Haydu blames the rising cost of beef on climate change and claims there's nothing the Liberals can do about it. In fact, food prices have been soaring because the Liberal government packed in millions of new people over a very short span, driving up not only food costs, but housing costs as well. Blaming climate change and taking zero accountability for past Liberal policies on immigration allows Liberals to fund obese social spending that drives up food inflation. And yeah, I don't want to listen to Patty Haydu. They're lying liars, and I'm sick of the show. I'm sick of the show, and the point of this show is to show you how they're taking advantage of Canadians, what the show is, what they're distracting us with. I'm trying not to distract you with the same show by pretending it's real, because I don't think it is real. And so here's something that is happening, though. Tamara Litch says, this is quite the price increase. Is this happening to other verified accounts? So Tamara's price was going from $299 a year to $690 a year. And apparently Louise says that isn't on X. That's an Apple thing, slapping 30% We Hate Elon tax on top of the new Premium Plus price and Canadian HST. Same scam hitting Americans, Europeans, everyone who subs through iOS. So if you have a big increase in your X account through iOS, you can not subscribe through iOS and subscribe through the website, and it'll be cheaper for you, is basically the push of that. And saving money is good for everybody, right? Ryan says, responding to the National Post article, federally funded study to probe how to provide culturally preferred food to immigrants. So we're being invaded, and their first order of business is to make sure people can get African food. A Vancouver area researcher was granted $600,000 in federal monies to figure out how to ensure more African food is made available in Canada's major cities to serve a growing population of African immigrants. $600,000 for this nonsense? Endless waste. Yes, sure is. Robert Fife says, if you believe the Canadian media, I have to ask you why, because they're not trustworthy or believable. Robert Fife says conservatives persist with cute legislative tricks while the government tries to run a country. Pierre Poilievre is going red in the cheeks because Robert Fife thinks he's cute. I'm just kidding. But still, ridiculous, right? Cute tricks? If the conservatives are effective at filibustering through cute tricks, then that's better than having hate legislation rammed through, because that is fundamentally against the whole principle of Canada. But it doesn't seem like it goes very much against the 2030 agenda. Holly Doan is reporting Minister's Department questioned biased claims by Anti-Hate, even as the group was awarded $200,000 grant. The Canadian Anti-Hate Network has been accused of creating products that were not free from bias. Was this taken into consideration when providing funding? $200,000 later, no. Next question. They don't care. They don't. I wish they did, but they don't. Mary is responding to end tribalism in politics. John says, this is everybody and their dog was bribed to push the COVID vaccine and to push the masks and to push the whole COVID narrative. And I find it interesting that it's so ubiquitous, that it's so broad. I knew it at the time. I think I was reporting on it at the time. I think I was probably even saying that the churches that take money, that's one of the reasons it's a global church now. It's not a church that you can trust. I don't think there's a lot of soulful enrichment happening in churches. I think it's a method of control, and they've changed these things using money, bribery. And so that's why I think it's hollow, right? And you go and you listen to the same crap they're telling you on the radio, and the same crap they're telling you on the news, and the same crap the NHL is doing, Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit, and it's all paid for. Here's this guy.
That the so-called Biden administration is called I believe it was called the COVID Vaccine Corps, which dispersed billions of dollars to various recipients. The major sports leagues, the NFL, I think Major League Baseball, they received just an outright bribe. I don't see how else you can characterize this. It's just Uncle Sam is going to give you a bunch of dough, and you're going to basically force this on your league. And there's a reason for that we will get into. But also the mainline Episcopal, Protestant, evangelical churches, Roman Catholic churches, all of their clergy received money to, I don't know how else to put it, push the vaccine. And there were very few pastors or priests or rectors, what was it in the Episcopal Church? Rectors, who refused. And,
But how, I mean, that right there strikes me as a violation, well, of the First Amendment, which prohibits state religion, but also of their duties as Christian leaders. You can't take money from the government to push something like that. I mean, I don't understand. Are these people still in leadership? It was only 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. So pretty wild stuff going on there. And I knew it at the time, but it's interesting hearing people talk about it, looking back and saying, oh yeah, if only we knew how bad it really is. Western Standards reporting Toronto expands land acknowledgements to include reparations and extraditive violences. So they're making it even more explicit and broad, and this is the wrong direction to go, in my opinion, if you ask me. With that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. It's got intro music now. And for everybody else, you can catch me tomorrow. I'll be here around tomorrow. No, everybody else will carry on. You know what I mean. I'm going to stop the stream now. Hold on a second. All right, let's do our grab bag of governance. Candace Malcolm says Carney was caught meeting Brookfield execs despite ethics warnings. We've talked about that.